Good morning, it's good afternoon to everyone, my very distinguished colleagues. It's a delight to be with Dr. Salim Akhtar, Dr. Rantiya Srivastav, Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha, who's a constant colleague and always a delight to be with. Dr. Jagdeep Chokar, who I didn't know was a lawyer as well. I knew that you were a remarkable social activist and management expert, thinking about democracy and fundamentals of our governance of ours in the right direction. The thoughts that have been expressed this morning, many exciting directions about citizenship, about professional commitments, about values, about work ethos, about work culture, about dedication to what you believe is the purpose of life, the manner in which you join the effort of educating yourself and of participating in a collective educational effort and project that you are involved in. And the elements that you will tackle over the next few months and years. I was pleased to see a role for jurisprudence, and I have had a particular concern about how jurisprudence is taught in this country. Recent Supreme Court judgments are touching upon values of jurisprudence and touching upon dimensions of jurisprudence that I think could make a fantastic contribution to any of the subjects that you have today touched upon. Essentially, jurisprudence is indeed the theory of law, and the study of law in terms of its philosophy, in terms of its ideology, in terms of its intellectual structure. That's what jurisprudence is all about. And that again is a very vast area. But I want to touch upon two people who made a very significant impact on my life, and I believe you would have a chance to study them as you move forward in your career. One on for at least 20-25 years and has written some of the most outstanding things that one can come across in jurisprudence on the theory of rights. We in India are often told to take rights as if they're there and everyone understands what rights are. But when you look at the Supreme Court judgments, you find that rights can be inherently controversial. And what I think is my right, you may think is not my right at all. What are rights that people have? And Chokar Sahib, you talked about discovery of being a citizen, what it takes to be a citizen and indeed to be a good citizen. But what it takes to be a citizen, if you go to the fundamental document that relates to a citizen in this country, your recognition as a citizen is based on our Constitution. The right to be a citizen is based on our Constitution. But once you are recognized as a citizen, you have both rights and duties that are enumerated in the Constitution. What duty mean, the right to life came to an end, meaning whatever dimensions it had could no longer be added to. And I believe that the next generation of judges might come up with further rights that just as the judges of today have given rights that we didn't know yesterday we had, similarly judges of tomorrow may add rights which today we don't even think that we have, or we couldn't even imagine we have. So the entire process of discovery of what rights we have is what jurisprudence essentially is about. And when you talk of jurisprudence essentially about, it is inevitably linked with what a judge is about. It's very easy to think that the judge is a person who sits higher up than you, and because he or she has been elected by those people, and he's had the opportunity to discuss, debate, and get feedback from the people he represents and or she represents. But the judge doesn't have this. The judge at best would come to a function like this and talk to some of you and take away some ideas from brilliant young people or your professors or your teachers, etc., and take back and then build that into his total assessment of what he should decide. But you have a similar right, it's called khula. Slightly different, but they have a similar right to seek annulment or a release from a marriage in Islam, just as a man has. And a man does not have the right of talaq the way the movies show it. My friend Raj Babbar did it in his film called Talaq. That's not the way the man does it. There are various other things that you would study when you do Islamic law. But the broad successor of H.L.A. Hart, and H.L.A. Hart's first name was Herbert, and Dworkin was questioning the thesis that Hart had given about the concept of law. And therefore, mischievously, although in an academic way, he named this judge who couldn't decide through a greater enhanced sense of justice. He named that judge Herbert, and the judge who could do that enhanced exposition of justice, he named Hercules. Hercules, will that be fair? And you might say, yes, that will be fair if I can hit him back. But there is a third person who would say, no, not hitting him back is not fair. Go back to Mahatma Gandhi, study what we believe, what we have followed in Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi has said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. Therefore, are we to follow it? Take a room like this, close the doors, and in this room, somebody comes and does magic, and we all forget who we are. You forget that you are students, I forget that I am a lawyer. Somebody else forgets that they are your professor, somebody else forgets that he's the president. We all become people who do not know what we will be when we go out of this room when the door is opened. And then we decide what is fair and just. And that is the only way you can decide what is fair and just. So the professor who goes out will be thinking that if I go out and I become a student, what should I get? I can't be a professor. And if I'm a student, what do I expect from my professor? A student may end up being a professor, but he may also end up being a student. So he has to decide, if I end up as a student, what should I get? Mr. Marwa becomes somebody who's taking admission in the course, and then he has to decide, well, I can't make that thundering speech that I just made. Therefore, what do I expect from the person who becomes Mr. Marwa? And this is the way a fairness and justice quotient is established. Read Rawls and you will find that this is perhaps the way to go forward. Rawls, and after Rawls, Amartya Sen has talked about this. But why do I say all this? I say all this because the field that you're entering into is the most interesting, the most challenging, the most dramatic field of intellectual pursuit that you can have. To be a great scientist, to be a great doctor, to be a great technologist, to be a great professional, all those are wonderful things. But if there is something fundamental to what Joker Saab said, fundamental to your identity and your understanding of yourself as a citizen, as a person, as an individual, as a human being, in the totality of the scheme of things, this is the study. The understanding the human mind, the mind of an Indian judge, the mind of a judge anywhere in the world, and jurisprudential concepts that give you a better understanding of who you are, or what you can expect in the world.